So my name is Jeanne Pernaut. I'm in charge of Sustainable Development and Technical Standardization at ILNAS. And I'm joined today with Natalia Vinogradova, head of the Standardization Department at ANEC, who is closely involved in the operational implementation of Luxembourg's standardization strategy. So together we will guide you through today's session. Now, let me briefly introduce the agenda. It works. Yes. So we will start with a short overview of ILNAS and ANEC, their roles, missions, and scope of activities. And then we'll introduce some key concepts related to standards and standardization with a practical perspective. And in the third part, we will present the key findings of our standardization analysis with a specific focus on environmental management. And we will conclude with some explanations regarding involvement in technical standardization, with a short quiz and a Q&A session. So ILNAS stands for the Luxembourg Institute of Standardization, Accreditation, Safety, and Quality of Products and Services. It's the national public administration under responsibility of the authority of the Minister of the Economy. And we are responsible for standardization and related activities. So today, ILNAS counts 64 staff members in total, and within ILNAS, the national standards body function is ensured by a team of 8 persons. And we are supported by a dedicated team, the Economic Interest Group, ANEC, which acts as an operational standardization platform. And it's a team of 5 persons. And ANEC's mission is to support the execution of the national standardization and to facilitate the active involvement of Luxembourg stakeholders in European and international standardization activities. And our national strategy is built around one core idea. Technical standardization is an inclusive tool for performance and excellence, serving the economy. And this strategy is structured around 4 pillars. The first pillar focuses on the effective use of relevant technical standards by every organization, public or private, like market players, public administrations, or research actors. The second pillar aims at the active involvement of national stakeholders in the standardization process, so that standards are not only adopted in Luxembourg, but also shaped by Luxembourg expertise. And the third pillar is dedicated to excellence by strengthening the active participation of the national standards body of ILNAS in European and international standardization organizations. And finally, the fourth pillar, which is also really important, it focuses on the development of research, education related to standardization, because standardization is also about skills, culture, and long-term capacity building. And as you may imagine, given our size at ANEC and at ILNAS, we cannot be active in all topics and all technical committees. So for this reason, and in order to make the strategy concrete, ILNAS, together with the Ministry of the Economy, has identified 3 sectors where standardization can generate the highest added value. And these 3 sectors are construction, ICT, aerospace, and beyond these 3 sectors, 2 major cross-cutting domains have been also identified. So the first one is conformity, which covers testing, certification, accreditation. And the second one is sustainability. And so for each sector and each domain, we have an associated policy that guides a concrete action plan. And regarding the sustainability domain, the current policy is structured around 11 thematic areas. And these thematic areas are currently under revision. We are therefore inviting you, all stakeholders, to participate in an ongoing consultation in order to identify which topic you consider most relevant for the future standardization policy in the field of sustainability. So I will therefore strongly recommend you to contribute to this consultation after today's session, and so that you can give your priorities and that it can be taken into account. So in this context, the Standardization Analysis on Sustainable Development, published last October 2025, fully fits within the normative policy framework for sustainable development. And this publication directly supports the promotion of technical standardization by providing concrete and also concrete guidance and also analytical elements. And one of the flagship themes of this document is, of course, environmental management, and which Natalie will present to you. But before going into the details, I will just rapidly explain you what are standards. When we talk about standards, we often think of something abstract. In reality, standards are really everywhere in our daily lives. So from safety signs to paper format, screws of or payment cards, standards ensure compatibility, safety, efficiency, and trust. And the same logic applies also to environmental management standards. And what do we mean by standardization? Standardization refers to the development of voluntary technical or quality specifications. And these specifications can apply to products, but also services or processes. And it helps ensure consistency, reliability, and comparability. Standards are voluntary by nature, but they often play a key role in supporting legislation and certification schemes as well. They are built in one core principles, such as transparency, openness, consensus, and independence from special interest. And yes, standards are developed within technical committees operating at national, European, or international level. And this committee brings together, these committees bring together experts from industry, public authorities, research policies, other stakeholders. And participation in technical committees is open and accessible. The work is based on transparency, openness, and also expert contribution, of course, with the objective of reaching a balanced consensus. So draft standards are discussed, revised, and finally submitted to a formal vote. This consensus-based process ensures that standards reflect real needs from the field while remaining independent from special interests. And also, standards are voluntary by nature, but they often play a key role in supporting, yes, as I said, the legislation. So yeah, it's important to have these standards aligned with also the legislation. And with this common understanding in mind, I now hand over to Natalia to move to the core sessions of today, which is the key findings of our standardization analysis related to environmental management. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. So just to give you an overview of this document, as Jean explained, it fits in the policy for sustainable development in Luxembourg. So it is aligned with what we have in mind for Luxembourg in terms of sustainable development standardization, but it also gives you an overview of what is happening on the legislative side and policies, and presenting some challenges. So the document as such, the main focus is standardization, but not only, as it provides you the understanding of how the standardization is linked to the Sustainable Development Goals. It explains the document how to use and access the standards, and also how to contribute to the standardization development, because there are different possibilities, there are different roles and different time consumption as well. And you can choose eventually what kind of involvement, what kind of role would you like to play in the development of standardization documents. And we also explain how ILNAS supports national stakeholders via our different activities. So on the slide, you have the QR code that will bring you to the document. The document, as Jan also explained, it presents 8 different topics for the sustainable development, including environmental management, which is one main topic for us today. Just to give you a background of how it all started, actually, the standardization for sustainable development, it started in the 1990s. Shortly after the United Nations Conference on Development, Environmental Development in Rio. And the committee, the first committee that was created, it was created in 1993. And it is dedicated to the environmental management. It is Committee ISO TC 207. And this is also the committee that hosts the most renowned standard for environmental management, which is ISO 14001, Environmental Management System Standard. That was first published in 1996, and now it has been adopted worldwide. It has more than 300,000 certifications based on the standard. And this year, it is going to see its 4th edition. Along this first developments for environmental management and sustainable development in general, from standardization perspective, there also have been requirements for all new standards to provide a link to understand and explain how these new standards support the sustainable development goals. And also for the existing standards, they try to retroactively map their standards and their objectives and sustainability development goals. So with this information, it has been possible to create tools that allow users to have insights on what standards exist, how many standards exist for different sustainable development goals. And as you can notice, the goal 9 for the industry innovation that has received the most, for which the most standards have been published so far. Also, since sustainable development, it's a very huge and massive topic, there have been different advisory and strategic groups put in place in order to streamline and coordinate the development of activities in relation to sustainable development in Europe and internationally, and the topics mainly covering circular economy, environment, or climate change. So coming back to the environmental management. Environmental management as such is a possibility for organization to minimize its negative impacts on the environment. And in order to do so, the organizations, they have to understand what different elements that need to be considered. They also need to understand what are the challenges and the risks that they meet in order to address them efficiently. They need to monitor different policies, strategies, and legal frameworks in order to understand, okay, where are we going to? What are the governmental objectives? And what are the legal obligations for organizations that have to be taken into consideration? And finally, organizations need to plan and implement all of these actions to address the challenges or take into account policies and legislations. And how to do this? Well, the best way to do it is to rely on standards that are the coherent frameworks and tools that are accessible to all and that allow organizations to implement credible and effective environmental management practices. But why are we talking about environmental management? Why is it important? Well, as you may know, there are different problems that we haven't actually. Environmental agenda is something that has been already discussed many decades, for many decades already. And why is this? Is because we are facing major environmental challenges currently in our world. We have climate change, we have pollution and waste, and nature and biodiversity loss. And all of these are intertwined and impact globally our world, our planet. Indeed, if we think about the climate change, we have the temperature increase, and it impacts the ice melting and the conditions in which our ecosystem develop, natural ecosystem develop. So it brings direct impact to the nature and biodiversity because some species lose their natural habitat, and we lose resources from our nature. And well, it could cause serious disruptions in our ecosystem, in our food chain, for example. And pollution and waste also is something that impacts both nature and biodiversity and could have serious health risks for us as humans as well. So as you see, if we don't take into account all the issues that we face, if we don't take any measures to mitigate them, the consequences could be very bad. So we really want to focus on it and address them efficiently. So if we really understand the problems, the challenges, why we are not completely integrating the environmental management in organizations already. What are the barriers? The barriers actually to the scalable environmental management in organizations fall within different categories, and we'd like to highlight some of them here. The barriers can be structural because sustainability is not implemented as at the heart of the organization. It is implemented in siloed departments that are not connected to innovation or strategical departments. And it is only with the involvement of high top management that the cultural change can be done into the organizations, and the environmental management could be implemented across the whole organization. Other type of factors are operational, and indeed, if you think of the processes and metrics that are used for the accounting, they are really based on finance and based on the costs that organizations have. But it is not only the finance that is at stake now, it is also the environment. And even if now metrics start to appear, they are not yet fully integrated into the traditional processes. And the reports that we receive, since we have this isolation of the departments and not full integration of the processes, the reports are often based on the data that can be unverified and inaccurate. And to fully integrate it further, the environmental management in the organization, we need the collaboration of all the stakeholders, not only within the organization, but along the whole supply chain. And it can be cost demanding and the funding is very important and not always enough allocated to bring this challenge, to change the culture, to upskill the personnel. And this all brings us to the fact that even the tools exist, the efforts still can be done to implement the environmental management more efficiently in their organizations. Luckily, we have our governments that lead us to the development of environmental management and sustainable goals. And we want to highlight a few frameworks that exist at European and national level. And one of them is the European Green Deal, the flagship project for Europe currently, which represents, since 2019, a package of policy initiatives allowing the green transition and focusing on new strategy for economic growth based on circularity and a vigilance to the climate change. And where the objective for the Green Deal is based on the Paris Agreement's goal to keep the global warming of 1.5, so 100, it would be really a lot, 1.5 degrees Celsius. And there are key objectives for the European Green Deal, with the climate neutrality achievement by 2050 and, 3 billion additional trees planted in the European Union and 55% less of net greenhouse gas emissions by 2030 compared to 90s level. Another objective is circular economy, focusing on reuse, repairing, and recycling of materials. The cleaner industry that is more focusing on sustainable and energy efficient practices, healthy environment that is restoring the nature and working towards the zero pollution to ensure the health environment in which we live. Sustainable farming with the more greener farming practices to protect our environment, and climate justice and fairness, so that really we have fair and inclusive transition to help people and to support future generations as well. Another interesting framework, European framework important for sustainability, is the AIDS Environmental Action Program. So it has been there for a long time already, and it sets long-term objectives that are revised every 7-8 years. And the idea is to integrate the environmental considerations and response to global environmental challenges in a long-term perspective, while having indicators that we can track, follow, and the dashboards for how well or how bad are we doing with respect to these long-term objectives. They are publicly available through the Commission website. The AIDS Environmental Action Program, it focuses on 6 action areas for climate change mitigation, that to achieve climate neutrality by 2050, the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, the adaptation to climate change to strengthen the resilience and adaptation to the climate change, improving the prevention and preparedness for climate-related disasters. The transition to non-toxic circular economy to avoid the pollution, actually, because the toxic elements, we need to see how we can reuse them if necessary, or how we can regenerate our environment to reduce the pollution and to support also the biodiversity, because biodiversity and preserving and restoring the natural habitats for our species, halting their loss and improving their ecosystem functioning as a whole, and also sustainable production and consumption, so that all of us are really taking it seriously and bringing its help to our environment. At the national level, we have the Plan National pour le Développement Durable, so National Plan for Sustainable Development, that sets 2030 objectives for Luxembourg. Obviously, it is aligned with the European strategies, and on top of it, it brings some national specificities, talking about sustainable mobility. We all know that we have issues with transport and traffic, especially for border workers. And another thing that is specific and interesting in Luxembourg is their focus on renewable energies. And all of you know that there have been an effort from the government to support the implementation and imposing the electric cars on their market, and support the installation of solar panels, for example, in the houses. So there are a lot of things happening, but the focus remains on resources management, on clean and renewable energy, and on circular economy. To support these strategies, this vision, we have legal frameworks that exist, of course, non-exhaustive, because if we would put the full list of European laws, we could spend days on discussing them. This is not the point of today's presentation, it's just to give you an overview. So we have the European Climate Law from 2021, which is one of the major laws within the European Green Deal, with a focus of reducing the carbon footprint. The Eco Management and Audit Scheme, ILNAS, regulation from 2009, well, it is actually quite aligned with the standardization, because it has highly based on ISO 14001, but the regulation is more strict, but it has the main core principles as environmental management standard, ISO 14001 as well. Another directive is focusing on the reduction on the industrial and livestock rearing emissions, also to reduce the emissions in water and air, and regulation from 2024 for the eco-design sustainable products, extending the requirements for the circulation of products, circular economy concepts for almost all kinds of products. And the last two legislations, they are covering the reporting for sustainable corporate sustainability information. And those, well, they are very recent, from 2022 and 2023, and already now being simplified, trying to support the small and medium-sized enterprises as well, to include them in this process. At the national level, of course, we also have supporting legislation, be it for climate change, for electrical and electronic equipment waste, or for eco-conception of consumer products. So how standardization can help us with addressing these different challenges that we face, and also this ecosystem of legislations? Well, standards can be really helpful. First of all, they play an important role in environmental management. They really provide this globally recognized framework to ensure the consistency and transparency in environmental management. And I have seen an article talking about Toyota, for example, that has implemented the ISO 14001, the environmental management system standard, that helped them to track emissions, waste, and resources use, ensuring consistent environmental performance across all facilities. and enabling the transparent audits that are crucial for stakeholder trust. Next possibility and next opportunity while using standards is that they help to drive innovation and compliance and foster continual improvement and support regulatory compliance as well. And this is actually also due to, for example, the Environmental Management System Standard report in 2001 that imposes on organizations the regulatory watch, which is very important. And we can take here an example of Siemens, an organization that uses energy efficiency standards to drive innovation, to have lower energy products, and also to meet European eco-design regulation, so that they have ensuring their entry to the market in advance of their products. The financial and resource efficiency of standards is very that's helpful because, as I have explained, there is this insufficient integration of sustainability and environmental management information in the existing reporting. And if we use the standard, for example, life cycle assessment standard, we can trace all the different opportunities to save costs or improve our packaging, for example, and then improve the environmental impact of our organization. There are standards for climate and communication of environmental sustainable information. So there are standards that support the greenhouse quantification, support carbon neutrality, allowing actually this transparent reporting that can be integrated in other elements. For example, Microsoft, they are based on greenhouse gas protocols that are now currently also integrated with ISO standards. And this allows for the transparent, consistent emissions reporting. And also that helps to improve their carbon neutral strategies for their organization. Finally, last but not least, the resource efficiency and market access standards. They are here not only for big organizations, but also for SMEs, and they can benefit really from this global pool of knowledge and efficiently improve their resources, reduce costs, and access to green finance. One of the main committees that is working on the environmental management is the ISO TC 207, the environmental management, the one that has been there from the very beginning, from 1993, as I mentioned previously. So this committee, it is currently managed by Canada, but Canada is obviously not the only country that contributes to the development of the standards. There are currently 84 actively participating members, member countries in this committee, including Luxembourg, and 43 observing members that can track the development of standards and implement them, and also provide some considerations from their perspective as well. So the committee aims to address the environmental and climate impacts, and it does so by providing environmental management, addressing environmental and climate impacts, including related social, economic aspects, and supporting a sustainable development. The work is structured within 6 subcommittees, of which the most active is the subcommittee 1, focusing on environmental management systems, the subcommittee 5, providing guidelines on the life cycle assessment, and the subcommittee 7, focusing on greenhouse gas and climate change management. The standards, international standards, are adopted as such at European level in a dedicated SAN committee. But also there is a more recent development a new committee, CEN 467, on climate change that has been established at European level that is more aligning with the subcommittee 7 on greenhouse gas and climate change management, but also the idea is to think on what specific European standards are needed to address this topic. Among different standards that exist for environmental management, obviously, the key standard that everyone knows is the Environmental Management System, ISO 40001, with the requirements and guidance for use. And as I mentioned, it will see its 4th edition this year, and it provides the foundational requirements for environmental management and also drives the continuous organizational improvement. This standard is supported by various standards like 14002 series, and 14006, providing specific guidance dedicated to areas such as like water, waste, or including the eco-design concepts into the environmental management. Other standards focus on financial and resource efficiency, helping quantifying environmental and natural capital costs, optimizing material flow and better resource efficiency. Climate and communication standards, as I explained, this is something that is really helpful in the reporting. They provide transparent reporting and greenhouse gas quantification guidelines. The auditing of environmental information is also an important topic that is covered in standards. It helps actually to ensure that not only the information is accurate, but it is verified by someone from external party, for example, and then it is really something that we can rely on and trust. And there are different standards supporting assessment and quality assurance on environmental information. Finally, there are standards dedicated to climate change mitigation, providing guidelines for adaptation to climate change, the actions towards reducing carbon footprint and greenhouse gas emissions. But there are also, like, these are the standards that exist already, and we have maybe we can go to the next slide, maybe not. Yes, we can. So on top of it, the topic is so huge, so vast, that there are always new ideas, new projects, new standardization projects that are being proposed. And there are some that are ongoing even today. We have a series of 14,019 for the environmental auditing. These guidelines and principles and requirements for validation and verification of sustainability information. We have also standards for carbon quantification, for example, allowing to measure the carbon footprint of products or measure the greenhouse gas emissions in urban environments. And the climate change mitigation standards that not only focus on measuring, but they support the tracking of activities and the results, outcomes for reaching net zero objectives. And with this, I can leave the floor again to Jeanne, who will explain you how and who can get involved and contribute to these different topics.
Thank you, Natalia. So the good news for this is that to be involved, it's open and it's accessible. Participation is open to all socio-economic actors in Luxembourg. So it can be companies, public authorities, research bodies, experts, every stakeholders in Luxembourg. And standardization is not reserved for a closed circle. It is built by those who are active in the field. And we have the chance in Luxembourg that it is free of charge, which is not the case in other countries. So registration is quite simple. Experts can register through the ILNAS ULN form. And once registered, you can directly contribute to the work of national, European, or international committees. Yes, and to give you a sense of scale, in 2026, we have 361 experts registered in the national registry, with more than 1,000 registrations across technical committees. And it shows that it's a growing community with professionals who want to anticipate changes, then react just to it. So yes, getting involved in standardization means gaining early insight into future requirements, contributing to consensus-based solution, and ensuring that Luxembourg's expertise and realities are also reflected in tomorrow's standards.